Hello, today I'm going to show you an application review workflow that I built using Click Application Automation. This allows for making sure that you can review applications and either approve or reject them if they're submitted to be published to Managed Spaces. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to start this demo by logging in as one of our developers, Claire Palmer here. Now, throughout this entire workflow, the purpose here is that we're going to provide as much feedback as possible to our submitter as well as our reviewer. So when Claire first decides to submit this, she's going to go to publish. Now she only has the capability to publish to one space, and that is app review. Publishing to this space is what kicks off our entire review process. Now, if she just publishes this as is, the thing is that the reviewer's not going to know what space she intends to submit it to. So the problem is that what's going to happen is that Claire's going to get an immediate feedback saying that she submitted an application, but the problem is she didn't decide, she didn't indicate where the application was supposed to be published to. So we can see that she is missing a tag in the space, and she has to provide it in the format of target-space name, so the space that she's submitting this for. So now that she has that feedback, she can resubmit. Publish for app review. We're going to add the tag target healthcare. Here we go, target healthcare. So now she's saying this is going to go to the healthcare space in our tenant. So she's going to go ahead and publish this. Now that she publishes this appropriately, this is going to kick off the approval workflow that she's going to need to get this ultimately approved. So first thing is that she's going to get confirmation that her application is being approved, and she's going to be notified when it's been approved or rejected. If we refresh this page here really quick, we can see that she now no longer has control of that application. That application has now been moved to another space to allow for the reviewers to review her visualizations, her calculations, her load script, everything about the app to determine if it is appropriate to be approved or if they need to reject. If I close this, we can see that in another screen here, I am logged in as myself. I can see that the application here has been submitted for app review. And if I go to Microsoft Teams, I have an alert here that says that a published app has been published for review by Claire Palmer, published on this date, and we can see who will be reviewing or select who's going to be reviewing the app. So we have a number of options on the review team here. I'm going to pick myself, and so if I pick myself, that's going to fire off another automation. And I'm getting an alert here that lets me know to return to Teams to see the possible actions. I'm going to close this out here. I'm going to go back to Teams. And this card looks very similar, but notice that now it's going to be reviewed by me. Claire Palmer submitted the application. And we could see, again, information about the app. So the name is New Analysis App. It's going to the healthcare space. It does not have section access, and the original app ID is this. And I have a couple options. I can review the application, or I can straight up approve or reject it. Let's go ahead and review. When we review this opens this up in a new tab for me, where now I can see the application. So first of all, I can already see something that Claire forgot to move this from her sheets to public sheets. She just had it as her sheet. So let's we'll make sure to move this into public sheets, but let's review this. So first of all, sheet name isn't correct, so we could do things such as add a sheet name of dashboard. So now that that's an appropriate sheet name, we can see that there's a couple of things that she has, total claim payment amount here. We can see if that's a master measure. It is, but it looks like she might not be using it here, so we'll just drag this in and replace certain things about this. Make sure that this says something like, claim payment amount by diagnosis. So all things that we can do to update this to make this more business appropriate. So things that we can change here, and then we can say, okay, this is now something that should be a public sheet so that it gets included in the published app when it goes to its managed space. We can also take a look at the data load editor, so we can determine things about the data that's being brought in to figure out, do we need to apply section access or not, and we could do that ourselves here. I'm going to say that this does not ultimately need section access, so we'll leave it as is. And now we can return to Teams to either approve or reject. By the way, one thing that happened when I selected myself is that I did get an email that lets me know that I've been assigned to review the application. So if I assign this to someone else, that other person would get that alert. So now we can see that this is being reviewed has been reviewed by me, and I can now either approve or reject. If I reject, that app gets sent back to Claire to the original space where it was designed. She'll get an alert via email that lets her know that the application has in fact been rejected, and she can reach out to us to get any further feedback on why it was rejected. Or we can approve it, and the approval workflow, first of all, when we click approve, first thing that's going to happen is that it's going to ask us to confirm that approval. And so we can see here we have, are you sure you want to approve? Yes, let's go ahead and approve that. And so this will kick off the entire approval workflow. That workflow is going to consist of publishing that application to the healthcare space. It will remove it from the app review space. It will send an email to Claire saying that her application has been approved and is now in the healthcare space, and she can navigate to that here just by clicking on this link, which opens this up directly to that app, and she can see that her app is. If we open up Claire's here and we refresh the page, we can see that Claire's app is now in the space healthcare. And in Teams, we get a notification in our Teams channel that says this has been approved, what the origin app ID, so we can see all this information here. And so now ultimately, we want to keep track of these approvals as well. So if we go back here and we go to our admin review space, there's an application in admin review that shows us, keeps track of what's been reviewed and what hasn't. So we have, we're starting to build out a history here. This is of course a brand new workflow. Starting to build out a history here showing what has and has not been approved in our data. And if we go to Sheets here, we can see here is that approval. New analysis app has been approved. Proposer is Claire Palmer, reviewer, myself, what the app ID was, when it took place, and how this is getting built out is that part of the approve reject automation workflow, it adds a line of data to this application from the workflow in line here. So every time a new approval happens, this data gets added in, the application is refreshed so that we now have fresh set of data as needed. And that ultimately is the entire workflow that we're working with here to approve or reject applications that get submitted.